All right, this is your last editing video on the checklist. So you should have watched the formatting video, both parts of the style video, and now this is the last sort of double check to make sure that you have everything you need in your paper before you submit it. So the first thing you need to check, we'll start at the top and we'll just work our way through the paper. I'm assuming that your formatting in your MLA is fine because hopefully you just did that as you went through the video, either today or yesterday. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure that you started with a hook at the top of your paper. Remember, your hook can be a short story or anecdote, it can be a vivid description, or it can be a quote. So if we check this one, a hero, quote, "A hero is an ordinary individual who finds the strength to persevere and endure in spite of overwhelming obstacles," said Christopher Reeve. I'm betting about, I don't know, at least 40% of you listening to this video also probably use that quote. It's a decent one. But yes, this is fine. And it's not just floating by itself. It's got part of this writer's own sentence, said Christopher Reeve. It doesn't matter if the part of your own sentence is at the beginning or at the end. As long as it's there, you're fine. So this will work as a hook. And then you want to transition into the Odyssey. This description of a hero could be used to describe Odysseus. Oh, that's awkward. Describe. See, sometimes you catch things that you didn't before. This definition of a hero could be used to describe Odysseus in his quest to return home to Ithaca instead of on Ithaca. Oh, then we have a capitalization issue. He encountered various monsters and gods who helped and hindered him on his way. Okay, so making sure it's all the same tense. Yeah, and then we're good. So we have the hook, and then it transitions into the Odyssey. So pause your video, look at your intro, make sure yours does the same thing, and then come back. Next, we want to double check your thesis. When we switch to look at the rubric, you'll notice, if you look at yours, that your thesis statement should be the last sentence of the intro, and it needs to have the things that we talked about in class. It needs to have Homer, the Odyssey, and the theme of your paper in some, whatever phrasing you choose to say it in. So if we go back to their sample, the Odyssey by Homer proves how Odysseus shows the heroic traits of intelligence when he battles the Cyclops, courage when he saves his men from Scylla, and both of these traits when facing the suitors, supporting the theme that people are heroes in hard times, not easy ones. The only thing I will say is that if you can rephrase so that you don't say the word theme, that's usually good. You kind of want to avoid that. So I would say probably say supporting the idea that people are heroes in hard times, not just easy ones. Good. Done. Jing. Then, in your body paragraph, you want to make sure that you have everything that you need. So, if we look back at the rubric, you need to have a topic sentence that states the topic of the paragraph and that smoothly transitions. And hopefully in the last video you checked that, but we'll just double check to make sure. You need to have 6 quotations that are all smoothly incorporated. So 6 meaning 2 per paragraph, right? We have 3 paragraphs, so we have 6 total. Using any of the 4 methods we went over in class, right? You cannot have your quotations floating by yourself. If you do, that will put you in the last column, quotes dropped, not incorporated. So we don't want that. You want to make sure your citations are there, and that you comprehensively analyze how each of the quotes illustrates either the hardship or the heroism, depending on where it is in your paragraph. And hopefully we also got rid of the word quote. So we just want to make sure, count 2 quotes with citations and make sure you've got your analysis. So I'm not going to go through that for the whole paper here, but we can go through the first paragraph. In one of his first challenges, Odysseus demonstrates his intelligence when he battles the Cyclops Polyphemus. Good, because that's telling us what the paragraph's about. The obstacle he had to face when Odysseus went up against the Cyclops was that he did not want his men to get eaten before they could escape. That's our intro to the quote. Odysseus watched in fear as the Cyclops, I don't need a comma, quote, dismembered them and made his meal, etc., etc. Citation. Good. After the Cyclops ate his men, Odysseus showed he was smart. Okay, so that seems more like a transition. We didn't take time to analyze this quote. This writer did not do that. So I need to explain why this is a problem. So I could say the Cyclops viciously devouring the members of the crew serves as a formidable obstacle or a formidable challenge for Odysseus to overcome in this part of his journey. But after the Cyclops ate his men, Odysseus showed he was smart to think of a plan when he stuck the Cyclops in the eye. Good. So then, that's our transition sentence. He planned to kill the Cyclops by getting the Cyclops drunk enough to put him off guard before he knew Odysseus outsmarted him when he got stabbed in the eye. That's kind of awkward because we said in the eye twice. So when he was blinded. Once Odysseus outsmarted the Cyclops, he said, "How do you like the beating that we gave you, you damned cannibal?" Odysseus, while tricking Polyphemus, proved that he had enough intelligence to go up against the Cyclops. That's actually not a super great quote, because that's not really showing how he was smart to think of the plan. I would probably change this to part of him actually doing something useful, but we could still kind of make it work. Odysseus, let's see. Although Odysseus shows or illustrates his overconfidence and pride with these words. He still explains here that he managed to defeat the Cyclops with only his wit and guile. So that's okay. I'm trying to think of it. His intelligence here helped the crew. Illustrated. Yeah. He explained here. He managed to defeat the guy. His intelligence here helped the crew leave the island with fewer casualties than what would have happened if the Cyclops had kept them captive for longer. Okay? And then we ended our concluding sentence. Odysseus, while tricking Polyphemus, proved that he had enough intelligence to go up against the Cyclops. To heroically probably go up against the Cyclops. Good. So then we've double-checked this whole paragraph and made sure that each of your quotes has an intro and an analysis, and that you have a concluding sentence. Done. Okay? So do that for all 3 body paragraphs. Also, please make sure that your 3rd body paragraph is actually about something at home in Ithaca. I had a small handful of people that just picked another one of the journey elements for your 3rd paragraph. Your first 2 paragraphs can be about his journey, but your 3rd paragraph has to be about something at home. So either basically something from when he reunites with his son until the end. So fighting the suitors, proving it's really him with Penelope, the bow contest, any of that, but it has to be something at home. And I commented on your paragraphs on Canvas, but I don't know how many people went and looked back at that. I only commented if that was an issue. So please make sure that it's about something at home at Ithaca. All right, and then looking at your conclusion, this person didn't write a conclusion, so I can't exactly double check it. But make sure that you start with a restatement of your thesis. So you're just rephrasing your thesis in different words. That's going to be your first sentence. And then the rest of your conclusion is however many sentences it takes to explain why this topic is important to readers. Okay? What can readers learn about heroism? What can they learn about facing challenges from reading this story about Odysseus? How can they apply that to their own lives? Okay? And again, I gave you instructions on Canvas. Under Canvas announcements, there's an announcement that says intro and conclusion for your Odyssey essay, and it's got that instruction. So restate your thesis. If you want to, you can briefly summarize your paper for 1 or 2 sentences without saying in this paper or the letter I. And then again, what can readers of the Odyssey learn about their own lives from this story of heroism despite facing obstacles? So it's pretty much, so what? Why does this matter? And also, who cares? Like, why should readers care about it? And that's what's on the rubric. So those are the 2 things you need to do. Connect the topic to the readers. Okay? Good. Then the last thing, after you've added all of these things, changed any of your phrasing, double check your works cited. Make sure that your works cited has not shifted. See this one, even with just a couple sentences that I added a couple minutes ago, it moved it down. So just backspace it, make sure it's at the top of your page. And then one last time before you submit it, read your paper from start to finish. You'll catch things that you didn't catch before. You know, sometimes you have to read something 3 or 4 times. Ideally, in an ideal world, if you're writing something like not for English 9, you would write your paper, you would leave it a couple days, you'd come back to it and read it, but you just probably don't have that time. So you still need to read it though. Good writing is made in revision. It's not the drafts. The drafts are usually bad. It's when you take the time to go back and improve it, knowing what you know about writing. You know the structure of writing, you know the tips about how to look at your sentence structure and word choice. You just have to take the time to do it. Okay? So once you read the whole paper start to finish, on your rubric, if you haven't filled it out yet, there are some questions at the bottom. What did you work the hardest on? What do you think you could have done better on if we had more time, like a couple more days in class? And what's one very specific thing you're going to do? What's one specific action you're going to take to make sure that you do better on your next essay? It could be make sure you meet with me earlier. It could be making all of the due dates on time. It could be annotating your text better when we start To Kill a Mockingbird, so you don't get to the end and have no idea what you want to write about. It could be any of those things. All right? And then I'll go ahead and have you submit your draft, your final draft, to the Turn It In category. And again, your whole essay is due Thursday at midnight. So once you are completely done, you submitted your essay, you have no questions for me, you can go ahead and find a book to read. If you're watching this on Thursday, hopefully our class will be down in the library, and you can pick out a book and just have some nice time to read and reflect. Because on Monday we're going to start our next unit, which is Unit 2, To Kill a Mockingbird, which I'm very excited about. And I think you guys are going to like that book a lot. So thank you, and good job. Congratulations for finishing.